So Peter, one of the design challenges that we've been working with in creating this learning experience, which folks have been participating with for a little while now, is the difficulty of we imagine leaders in our culture as people who have vision and aspiration and bring that to a group of people, but that's not really what happens. Typically, lots of folks already have their own visions, their own ideas and aspirations, and actually the work of leadership is trying to bridge those two things, because it is true that especially for people who have former leadership roles, we do want them to be people who bring new ideas.
Everybody. I mean, ideally, why shouldn't everybody be bringing their vision to work?
And then someone has to have some responsibility for sort of creating the process that allow those different perspectives on where we ought to be heading to be woven together into something that we can do together. And that's one of the challenges that we've been really trying to work with in designing this, is doing that iterative back and forth work between thinking about what do me in my own personal position, what am I bringing to this, but how do I also figure out how all the people in my community who I work with, what do they think great teaching and learning looks like, and how do I incorporate them and us converse back and forth until we find some consensus on where we're headed.
Hopelessly confusing. But I mean, that's why years ago we started to realize you had to kind of identify these kind of two kind of foundational processes of reflection and encouraging that nurturing of individual vision, what really matters to me. In a sense, it's like the soil nutrients, out of which what really matters will grow, and what really matters is the shared vision. It's just what people together are committed to that really moves things. But without personal vision, you don't get shared vision. I mean, it used to be that, business had this crazy idea that, we'll get a shared vision. We'll go off and 3 people will write it down and, that'll be our shared vision. No, that's not our shared vision. That's 3 people's vision. So this kind of harmonizing or balancing of the personal and the collective is really quite central. I do think one of the things that I like about the way we've put it together here is I think you can't solve that problem. You use the term iterative, but it's iterative in getting to work. So when we said, look, it's really about bringing people together around things they really care about, and then you refine the vision through getting to work. So first off, you got to have a we. The we can be 3 people. It doesn't have to be 50 people. And then you have your own ideas, and they're kind of connected and they're kind of not connected. That's natural. You don't have to agree. We always say, please don't worry about everybody agreeing. That kills everything. But you have to have enough alignment you can start to get to work. And then as you work on it, it gets refined. I actually don't think you ever have to agree 100%, ever. When it's all over and done, people like this part, other people like this part. What really matters is what you got done. So the key to all of this, in my experience, is actually the getting to work part and anchoring this whole process in the doing, not the talking.
And I think one of the obstacles to getting to work together is in schools we have this culture, sometimes it's described as radical teacher autonomy, the notion that there's a kind of unwritten social contract in schools, that every teacher gets to go back to their own classroom and shut the door behind them, and as long as parents aren't complaining and students aren't complaining and kids are passing, that we give them a lot of freedom and autonomy to decide how they want to teach. And on one hand, that can be a great thing. That can be a great environment for having lots of experimentation. I think the real risk there is there are a lot of teachers who are doing extraordinary things in the classroom, and the learning from those experiences isn't transferring, isn't benefiting everyone else on the grade level team, everyone else in that building. It gets stuck in those rooms and lost when that teacher leaves and a new teacher comes in and is kind of starting from scratch there. So it seems like one of the real challenges of this work, to be sure that we're getting started together, is trying to rewrite that unwritten social contract, is to say, look, we may all have come at this, we may have had in our community an expectation for a long time that everyone just gets to split off and do their own thing. And of course we want there to be some measure of autonomy, but part of what we're trying to do here is get groups of teachers to come together with the support of administrators and other folks and say, let's see if there are some things that we can really work on together. Whether that's doing better differentiated instruction, whether that's using technology to enrich learning in different ways. We might all do it slightly differently in math and science in 2nd grade and 10th grade, but are there a couple of things that we can say in the near term, whether that's a year or a semester or 2 or 3 years, what are some things that we could work on and get better at, commit ourselves to getting better at with each other together?
Well, first off, I think you're absolutely right that there's this kind of unwritten norm. I'll never forget years ago hearing a master principal, a woman who had done amazing job over 10 years to really shift the climate and culture. in a school. And I asked her, so as you look back at that 10 years, what really stands out? She said, the toughest thing I ever did was try to get teachers to team. I'll never forget her words. The toughest thing I ever did was try to get teachers to team. It was because she was going directly at that unwritten norm. And you can understand it, autonomy is, one of the definitions of a profession. And a lot of teachers today feel like their whole field has been deprofessionalized because they're told to do this, they're told to do this, they're told to this. So in a sense, they even fight more for their autonomy. So there's kind of natural pressures in that direction. But I actually think that even for innovation of an individual teacher in an individual classroom, you need collaboration. My experience is when you really trace significant innovations that, let's say, a teacher has really pioneered, you almost always will find they were talking with somebody else. And they had a partner, because if it's really a challenging big step, it's not going to work out. It's going to go up and down. You're going to have like 50% of the right ideas, you're going to have 50% of the wrong ideas. You need collaboration to refine your own work. So I don't think this is just about team teaching. It's about a spirit of collaboration and helping one another. And then if you start to establish that, then it's also easier to build teamwork.
Right.